Uh, Hello, and welcome to Something Positive for Positive People Yoga. I don't know why I called it that. I like more so calling it atomic yoga. And the idea behind it is to practice presence in a way that is as simply put as it can possibly be through the lessons that we have to learn from the most simplistic form of existence, which is the atom. Now, as you observe, as you listen to the podcast, as you engage with something positive for positive people content, as you take our yoga classes and do our meditations, more of it will make sense. But the simplest language that I could put it in is that we are made up of a lot of these atoms that the way that they function, I believe is sort of like a blueprint for how we should do life. And so this presence practice, these yoga classes, and the messaging that I try and put out there is coming from that place. So if you are here and you are able to, if you're watching this from wherever you are, this will just be a simple session today. We won't even stand all the way up. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Courtney Brame. I'm the founder, executive director, podcast host, marketing director, social media manager, the accountant, all things related to the business of something positive for positive people, as well as a 500-hour registered yoga teacher and a yoga therapist in training. My whole thing is really about presence as well as identity validation, especially supporting people who are navigating all types of stigma. All right. So we'll go ahead and do a class today. It'll be roughly 20 minutes because today was supposed to be 30, but I was having some issues with my YouTube live and trying to get that squared away as well. So from wherever you are, if you're going to participate in class today, I invite you to take a comfortable seat. I'm sitting on two blocks because that makes it easier for me to bring my feet out in front of me. I have tight hips. So we'll probably do a little bit of that as well because there's nobody in here to give me feedback about what y'all need. All right. So from wherever you're sitting, and if you want to just listen in, you're more than welcome to as well. Maybe you're unable to get a mat out. Maybe you got animals, children, something that's got you occupied. So if you just want to listen in, you can too. So from wherever you are, I invite you to just close your eyes. Find yourself in a seat that you can sit in without having to recalibrate or rebalance yourself. And just be with that silence. Allow for there to be a gentle stillness in your space. And take notice of what this feels like. If your eyes are closed, take notice of what it is that you see with your eyes closed. Notice how your vision changes when you close the windows to the soul. Notice how your thoughts change. And see if you can take sort of a screenshot of the way that you feel right now in this moment as we settle into today's session. Now, from that screenshot, you don't have to do anything with it. You're not going to share it. You're not posting it. You're just keeping it to yourself. And the next thing I want you to do is just take notice of any sounds that you hear. For me, it sounds like somebody might be fighting outside. Yep, they're yelling. Somebody's definitely fighting outside. Bus just drove by. I heard that. I heard a refrigerator humming in the background. And for you, maybe you hear a little bit of traffic, maybe you hear people, maybe you got something on in the background. If you have a roommate, maybe you hear them. Now bring your presence more into your space. What smells are in the air? I'm at a gym, I kind of smell my feet. Hopefully, that's not what you smelling. And then, if you were to just kind of roll your tongue around in your mouth, what does that taste like for you? Is there anything that it reminds you of? Is it a salty or sweet, sour taste? We're not diagnosing any health conditions or anything. We're just bringing awareness into our body. Now, take notice of how you feel. Are there any particular parts of the body that maybe there feels like a little bit of tension or heat? Are there any parts that maybe feel a little bit more cool or relaxed? Now, for where you are, having engaged all five senses, give yourself a gentle smile. I said gentle smile, like smiles are rough. In other words, don't force it. All right? Let the corners of your mouth raise up just a little bit and allow yourself to just feel gratitude wash over your body. Gratitude for being here today. Gratitude for making the space to practice being present. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is take and bring more awareness to your breath. Notice how the breath is entering and leaving the body. Notice if it's getting caught anywhere. Notice if the body is craving more of a deep inhale, especially in any of those areas where you may feel more tension arise. Notice how, wherever you feel more relaxed, how fluid the breath seemingly enters and exits the body. Not changing anything. There's nothing to be fixed. We are just as we are. Let's take one more breath. And when you exhale it out, just open mouth side out. Okay. Now continue to breathe at your own rhythm and take that mental screenshot of how you feel right now in this moment. If your eyes are closed, if you need to, you can begin to open them slowly, or you can keep your eyes closed and just follow the instruction from my breath. Or, oh my goodness, follow the instruction from the sound of my voice. Take a big inhale, reach both arms up overhead, extend the fingertips, reach, shrugging the shoulders up toward the ears. And then as you exhale, rotate the torso over toward the right, taking the right hand back behind you for support. Left hand reaches to the outside of the right elbow. Take an inhale, lift the chest, making the spine as long as you can. And then as you exhale, look over the right shoulder while pressing into the right knee. for a gentle twist of the spine. On your next inhale, go ahead and reach both arms back overhead, fingertips as high as they'll go. And then exhale, take it over to the other side. Left hand's back behind you, right hand to the outside of the left knee. Gaze goes over toward the left shoulder. Now inhale, reach both arms back overhead. Interlace your fingers and then press the palms up toward the ceiling. Lift the chest and then reach the palms back behind you, kind of like how you would take a cat cow. And then when you exhale, press the palms up toward the ceiling and then begin to exhale, bring the belly in toward the spine, round the back. Inhale, come all the way back up and try and keep movement at the speed of your breath. And then exhale once more. Inhale, palms stretch up toward the ceiling. You can release the interlace. Inhale, shoulders come up, arms reach high. And on your exhale, take the right hands around the left wrist. See if you can root through your left hip so that you're taking a side bend toward the right, keeping your hips grounded. Inhale, reach up toward the sky. Exhale, left hand goes over the right wrist. Side bend to the left. And inhale, reach up. Exhale, lower your hands down to your sides. From here, if you are seated on blocks, you can go ahead, remove the blocks from underneath you, and take your feet out wide. So you'll be in a wide V shape, seated on the ground. And then take an inhale, reach the arms up toward the sky. And then as you exhale, begin by first hinging at the hips, keeping your chest forward. So we're leading with the chest. And then when you can't go forward anymore, feel that hamstring engagement along the back of the legs. Drop the hands down in front of you. And then see if you can leave your chest lifted and then walk your hands forward. And we'll stay here for several breaths. And once you are as far as you can get with your chest lifted, maybe walk the hands forward a little bit more, and you can slowly begin to round your back. I'm going to take my block and bring it out in front of me because I need it. And blocks are just designed to make the ground a little more accessible to you. While we're here, I want to expand a little bit on what I was saying at the beginning about taking the lessons from our innermost being, according to science, looking at the behavior of atoms. And that's what we are made of. We're a system of systems, an organism made up of atoms. And I've been on this kick lately of learning what they are, how they function, because I hear things that just sound crazy, like the body is mostly made up of space or water. And I'm like, what does that mean? Everything's energy, everything's connected. And when you hear it so many ways or so many times, it begins to lose its meaning. But when you actually make it a priority to look at, what those things are, how they behave, what they do, you can learn something. And I think I learned something. I learned that the atom consists of three parts, and its role, like how it exists, and sort of model my own life around that. So there's a proton, which is a positive charge, And the word positive just means presence. There's a neutron which has a neutral charge, and its role is to stabilize the proton. And together they form a field that is the nucleus of the atom. And then there's the electron, and electrons are just negative energy, just meaning absence. It doesn't mean bad, like positive doesn't mean good. Negative just means absent. So, another way of speaking to negative is that there is infinite potential. So, essentially, we have this force where there's a stabilizing element, there's something radiating positive energy, and then there's something that's negative. And if we know how positive and negative coexist, they attract one another. The proton is still and can't move, but think of it like it vibrates. And with the neutron, it just keeps it stable, making it more easily attractive to electrons. Now, electrons are particles that are always moving and looking for and seeking stability. And the way that we give stability to electrons is this beautiful balance between proton, neutron, electron relationship, because it creates this magnetism, if you will. You may hear it as attraction, law of attraction. And if we look at atoms, they teach us exactly how to do that. Go ahead and walk your hands in. You can take your hands back behind you and then bend one knee at a time in towards your chest. You can just windshield wiper the knees side to side. If you need a little bit more than that, feel free to take whatever your body needs for you. I can't tell you what to do in your body. I can give you recommendations, and your responsibility is just to make the decisions today. All right. Mhm. Next, we'll bend the left foot and bring it into the right inner thigh. Take an inhale, lift the chest, rotate your torso over that direction. And then you can begin to exhale and slowly walk your hands down that right leg. And we'll be here for several breaths. So I mentioned the magnetism and the attraction, and the best way that I can sum up the relationship of the three parts of an atom is that there's these two countered forces, positivity and negativity, and they're calling to each other, but there's nothing that stabilizes the call. And the positive and the negative need that neutral force as sort of a buffer. Like if you're holding two magnets, you have a positive charged magnet and a negative charged magnet, and your hands are on them, and you bring them together, and you start to feel that pull toward them, right? Your hands are responsible for maintaining that magnetic charge. And I like to think of the neutron as us, as awareness or human consciousness, where we're the stabilizing force between the positive and the negative. Now, symbolically, because the positive can't move, we are the conductors or the expression of that positive charge so that the negative is more able to sustain its motion because it's constantly in motion. And there's a lot more to how electrons operate that I won't get into today because we'll be in this hole for a disproportionate amount of time than we will on the other side. But our consciousness, our choice, we get to decide what that attraction looks like or the intensity of it. Like it's always going to be there, but our consciousness and awareness to the proton and electron being balanced, right? Like if you look at one side more than the other one may drift because it's not being given your presence, it's not being given your awareness and attention. So you could change the magnetism without knowing. So it's a matter of maintaining a balance as that neutral force that is stabilizing the field so that the pull is constantly in motion. And as that pull stays in motion, we create a rhythm of the magnetism and it becomes even more strong the more stable it is. And then maybe you can take them a little bit further apart and increase the field of attraction and the intensity of it. We'll go ahead and switch sides, straighten out the left leg, take it out wide, and then you can just windshield wiper the feet. And now we'll bring the bottom of the right foot to the inside of the left leg. Take an inhale, lift the chest, hinge over toward the left side, and then walk your hands down. We'll be here for about 12 breaths. Um, so what I was saying was, as the vehicle for human consciousness, we are responsible for the expression of the protons, positive energy, and bringing harmony and rhythm to the electrons, the negative energy. And I think we've learned that negative is bad. People don't want to be around negative energy. But the thing about negative energy is that it has infinite potential. That infinite potential is attracted to us. It's always naturally just attracted to the positive, and the positive can't move. So it symbolizes stillness. Whereas the negative energy is always in motion. So it's always moving, it's always looking for a way to express itself. And something really interesting is that I've learned that prior to observation, electrons operate in waves. And under observation, they begin to take form. So presence brings form to potential. What we give our presence to begins to take shape in accordance with how engaged or disengaged we are from our positive energy, our presence. And so it's really a beautiful balancing act of remaining connected to your proton as an atom and then recognizing the behavior of electrons in response to your ability to be connected to your proton. We're going to go ahead and extend the right leg and continue this Adams lessons from somebody who really has no background in chemistry or science or anything. Just a little philosophy, some Googling and chat GPTing and YouTubing. Okay. Next, we'll bring the bottoms of our feet together in front of us. And here you can take your hands over toward the pinky side of the feet and then pull the feet up towards your nose while pressing the elbows in against the calves. I am not going to do that much pressure because, like I said, my hips are tight. But what I will do is hold here and we'll take about 12 breaths and just allow for these to be super slow breaths, okay? In case you're like, damn, I'm on breath 20 after the last thing. And it's just, I forgot to mention to breathe slowly. It's my first YouTube live. I'm nervous. All right. So the way that atoms behave is essentially they're the perfect bonding mechanism. So electrons are all around us. There's infinite potential infinite negative energy that if we fuel with positivity, oftentimes will take shape in accordance to our own connection to positivity, right? So the simplest way that I can put this is that us as a collection of atoms are born of the purpose of atoms bonding and becoming a molecule, becoming a bunch of other things before they become an organism. Like I said, I don't know it like that. Studied it enough to live it. All right. And atoms typically have shells. The first shell surrounding the nucleus can hold up to two electrons. And the closer the electrons get to the proton, again, the electrons are always in motion, they're always seeking stability. And the first shell is very representative of identity. So within this nucleus, you can have X number of protons, X number of neutrons, and the first shell can only be surrounded by two electrons, and they move a lot slower than the others. The second shell can hold up to eight electrons, and this is symbolic of the patterns of the atom. This would be, if we're looking at it from an identity perspective, right? Like I myself am a yoga instructor, a podcaster, I'm a speaker, I'm a patient actor, right? And then when we get to the third shell, this is what manifests and how it expresses what opportunities, thoughts, challenges, feelings, material things, what materializes as a result of the positive presence expressing itself through the neutron. And then the third field where the electrons begin to orbit is where things start to show up. So this manifests as me teaching a yoga class to you. This manifests as you maybe hearing a podcast episode or experiencing that to know that this is happening here right now. We'll bring our knees together. Ooh. And then extend the legs, and we'll take one more forward fold. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, hinge at the hips, lean the chest forward, and maybe you round your back to touch either the toes, heels, or maybe you just rest the hands on the shins somewhere and stretch out the hamstrings. But something that I've learned today in Joseph LePage's yoga therapy class is there was a journal prompt about like our own journeys to yoga. And for me, one of the big things that I recognize is that there was a significant difference in my life between when I recognized that I was responding to the external world around me or reacting to it, like letting my external world dictate my internal world. I let people tell me what to do, how to be, who I am. And I started to respond to that. And in the process, sort of behaving like an electron. Electrons that don't have an orbit, that don't have a place on the shell of an atom, they drift. And again, electrons have infinite potential. Humans have infinite potential. But one thing that we have been given is a sense of purpose. And metaphorically, that sense of purpose is what our proton is as the atom, as these three parts. Now we have the awareness. We are able to engage with electrons in the way that they are supposed to be engaged with by staying grounded, remaining stable in what our purpose is, what our truth is, whatever we believe to be God or source or where we came from. But whatever it is that your intention is, remaining true to that as an expression of your identity is where you start to see things materialize on the third shell of an atom. And this is where 18 electrons manifest in sort of cycles. And this is where we get to play in the real world and experiment with things. Electrons can be people, places, things. They can be experiences. They can be challenges, obstacles, successes. Everything as an expression of where your shell one and shell two are in alignment. And so, how I mentioned, you hold the positive, you hold the negative, and when you keep it aligned in your mind, you create that magnetism that draws electrons to want to be in your orbit. People, environments, successes, all of the material things necessary for you to maintain your rhythm in just being. And it took for me to realize that the more still I became, the more connected that I became with my own identification with purpose and identity, the more that third shell of electrons began to form alignment. You can walk your hands back up. And I said this would be 20 minutes. I'm sure I'm over. I can't see the time. I did not plan appropriately for this. I just did it. And I'm the kind of person who I do it and then I fix it from there. Um, I want to invite you to go ahead and lie down. We won't do pigeon today, but make your way onto your back. And I'll just try and bring this lesson today to a close. When you lie down on your back, as you breathe, I want you to just have this picture in mind for yourself. Today doesn't have to be a super deep class or deep reflection. We did some holds for stretching. You probably sleep real good tonight, depending on what time you watch this. But you yourself are an atomic structure made up of atoms that created. And so, why wouldn't you be able to create? As you lie down, I want you to create an image of that screenshot you took of yourself at the beginning of class, how you felt, where things might have been a little bit tight or painful. And I want you to do a side by side for yourself of where you are now in your body, in your space, in your presence, and where you were in that screenshot. Just think about like an energetic screenshot. You ain't got to know what you're wearing. You don't got to remember how your hair looks. And just notice if you feel different, if it's a different experience that you have. And atomically speaking, this presence that we gave to ourselves, one of the identifications as someone who practices yoga. If you are someone who does this routinely, then maybe this is in your second shell of expression as a yogi. If you're someone who's maybe trying it out or testing it out, then maybe this is just an electron on your third shell that's connected to an electron on my own third shell of the intersection of a yoga class. And as infinite possibilities take shape, as we give presence to them, I want you to take notice of what happens when you begin to engage with things that you may have mindlessly engaged with a little bit of intentionality, with a little bit of awareness, with a little bit of presence. And just see what shape they start to take. Notice how your relationships will change. And the only thing that we have to do is just remember. Remember our awareness. Remember our presence. Remember our intention. Remember whatever connectedness we have to source, whatever that relationship looks like for you. Being able to hold true to that positive self of yours, and not overly identifying with things like your mental health or physical health diagnosis, because that identification draws you out of your nucleus, out of your safe space, your identity, your proton, your power source for positivity, where you get to practice being present and radiating what that purpose of yours has to radiate so that it may express itself through you and get the electrons, the infinite possibility to fall in the line. Because electrons are very energetically They are very energetic, they're high energy, and they're just seeking stability. While it's absent energy, it's infinite potential for energy. And the more positivity that you have, the more grounded and stable you are. Notice I didn't say anything about what you do. And so much of our day to day life is centered around action, it's centered around movement, motion. Be here. I got to do this. I got this on my mind. I got to do this for somebody. What our presence practice focuses on is just you in your most purest atomic structure as an atom with a proton, with orbiting electrons. And we're just making space for stillness, for you to just be present and validate your identity in a way that you want it to be, whether that be identifying as an atom whose role is to just be in the presence of others, being of other beings, bonding where necessary, where it makes sense, where it's aligned, and going on to form something greater than it ever could be individually. Not to say that you aren't great alone. There are plenty of atoms that are very self sufficient, self functioning, but it's about what it is that you want for yourself, what's aligned for you. So as we rest here, we close out today's class, my test run, if you will. Just breathe and receive. There's nothing to do. All there is being. And take that little lesson from the atom to just allow for stillness and presence so that you can experience the world around you, experiencing you completely differently. I look forward to continuing these and refining this on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Go and check out www.spfpp.org for more resources in relation to stigma, other yoga classes and offerings. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is minimizing stigma through presence and identity validation with yoga, podcasting, research, support groups, one-on-one calls, speaking engagements. All right. You can lie here as long as you like, or I'll see you next time, or you'll see me next time.